What's going on, guys? Randall here from Wired In, bringing you another Diablo 3 video, and this time on the Wizard. I'm having a lot of fun playing with him, and I wanted to cover the T10 Speed build. And I've tried it. There's a bunch of different variations to the build. There really are, but I've tried pretty much all of them, and I've concluded that this one gives the best productivity and the best time for me personally. You can mess around with a few things, you can change things, but this is what I'm rolling with at the moment. Little advice as well. If you're doing the seasons, I highly recommend just focusing on 2 classes. Don't try to focus on like 3 or 4 or 5 classes because you're going to drive yourself crazy, and even with bank alts, you're going to be running up your stash space. And when you just focus on 2 classes, it lets you salvage the rest of the gear too, so you don't have to worry about salvaging Barbarian or Crusader gear. I chose the Wizard as my second class. However, I'm not too crazy about the Twister build for G-Rifts. I do have the Ancient Weapon. I do have good gear for it. I'm just not too crazy about the rotation and the spec itself. So enough of that. Let's get into the build and the gearing. The theory behind this, obviously, is your Explosive Blast. So let's cover the skills. So on your left click or wherever, you want to go with your Electrocute Surge of Power. That's going to give you the opportunity to not only generate Arcane if your Arcane power, but also allows you to proc both your Focus and Restraint, right? Storm Armor, you can go with, I go with Scramble, because after you have the Golem in your cube, if that's the way you pronounce it, Golem, I don't even know. Make fun of me. I'm the worst at pronouncing things right there, as you can see. But you go with Scramble for the movement speed. However, you can go with Power of the Storm if you're suffering from Arcane power, if you're missing a few pieces of the set. But I go with Scramble for the movement speed. Explosive Blast, Chain Reaction. Now, the whole goal behind the spec is to keep on using Explosive Blast and being able to spam it through cooldown reduction, and then, of course, your cube items proccing and allowing you to continuously do that after elite kills. I'll get into that with you in a sec. Teleport Calamity, obviously, for another arcane element to use for rotating through the elements for the Tal Rasha's set. So Calamity is a good place to go with the teleport. Frost Nova, you want Frozen Mist to get the frost and proccing on those mobs. So again, you cycle through the elements. Diamond Skin Prism. Now you can also go with Sleek Shell, which will give you a little extra movement as well, because you're going to be melting things in one shot. So you might want to go with something that's going to allow you to move around the map a little faster. That's another option there. So the first passive you're going to want to go with is Illusionist. When you take more than 15% of your maximum life and damage within 1 second, which is going to happen a lot because you're in melee range and right on top of the mobs, the cooldowns on Mirror Image, Slow Time, and Teleport are reset. Teleport obviously being the emphasis here, because you want to be able to teleport Calamity and stun those mobs, and also go through your rotation of elements as quickly as possible. So that's great. And also it gives you great mobility as well by giving you that 30% movement speed increase. Elemental Exposure, because obviously it gives you that extra damage, and through all of the elements and stacks. Audacity, you deal 30% additional damage to enemies within 15 yards. That is a no-brainer, because you're always, like I said, within melee range, so you want to get that extra 30% in damage. And Evocation, reduce all cooldowns by 20%. That's pretty much it for the abilities, but where a lot of this stuff is going to ride is on your gear. What's great about this build is you don't need an Ancient Weapon, and you don't need crazy rerolls on your items. You don't need a perfect set by any means. However, every little bit helps. I've seen a huge difference between before I got some crucial items or crucial rolls to afterwards. Now, getting over to the gear, obviously you're going to want your Tal Rashas. This whole build centers around Tal Rasha, a mix of Tal Rasha and Firebird, because of not only the 6 set, but the fire damage that the Firebird set bonus, the 4 set bonus, gives you. Dealing fire damage causes the enemy to take the same amount of damage over 3 seconds, stacking up to 3,000% weapon damage as fire per second. After reaching 3,000% damage per second, the enemy will burn until they die. Last one, not as important, because they're not even going to get a chance to burn. The stat priority, let's start with the Helm. Your stat priority is going to be your Socket, Intelligence, crit chance, vitality. Then if you get to meteor percentage, go ahead. But helms only have 4 attributes. But I'm saying if you get something that doesn't have vitality and rolls with meteor damage, go ahead and get your socket and crit chance. That's going to be your priority. Moving over to the shoulders, you're going to want, obviously, intelligence, vitality, then cooldown reduction, and explosive blast percentage. You can drop the vitality for cooldown reduction and explosive blast if you're feeling ballsy. I went with the extra toughness because things can get a little sticky. Even though you're running around porting like a madman and stunning everything, sometimes you can get one shot if you're not careful. Going over to the chest, intelligence, obviously. Want your 3 sockets for your intellect. You want explosive blast damage here because it's going to give you a big boost if you get around 15% explosive blast. That's stackable right there. The multiplier is going to be great, and you're going to get some great one-shots on mobs and rift bosses. Wrists, you want fire damage, intelligence, crit chance, vitality. The only reason I'm mentioning a 4th attribute here, or 5th attribute rather, is if you get some bad rolls, and this way you know what to go for on those rolls, because like I said, you don't need every piece to have perfect rolls with this set. That's what's great about it. If you get as close as possible, you're still going to be tearing through mobs and clearing T10 rifts really quickly, but of course every little bit helps. I've really noticed, as I said, that once I got some better rolls on a few items like crit chance here and there, it really made a huge difference. But as you'll see, I don't really have the best of the best either. On the bracers, though, here's what's interesting. You want to go with the Warzi Cheyenne. I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm the worst at pronouncing things, because every time you destroy a wreckable object, you gain a short burst of speed. You're going to want to be zooming around the map. This makes a huge difference because accompanied with, and I don't mean to bounce around here, accompanied with Wreath of Lightning, which is giving constant damage, you're going to be hitting wreckable objects, so you're constantly going to be moving that at that increased speed. Coupled with Scramble and a couple of other movement speed buffs, you're going to be zooming around, so it's really nice. And of course, under the effect of Wreath of Lightning with that gem, you gain a 25% additional increased movement speed as well. So you're going to be running around. So you want your fire damage, intellect, and your crit chance on your bracers. Next, we'll go over to the gloves. Now, here's where you could switch out your gloves for Firebirds or Tal Rashas, depending on what you have that's better, and then maybe put your offhand as your Tal Rashas instead of your Firebirds like I have here. But I like the Firebirds. Gives you that fired element damage, and it's just best in slot for this build. But, of course, like I said, you could go with what you have. Tal Rashas, now here's what's also interesting. We all know that the trifecta is going to be attack speed, crit chance, and crit damage, but this build really doesn't benefit that much from attack speed. So your priority here is going to be intelligence, critical hit chance, crit damage, and then cooldown reduction. Waste, best in slot is gold wrap, because if you're not going to be, if you have the right gear and you don't need to put your Tal Rasha's belt on to get that 6 set, gold wrap is not only going to give you an increased amount of gold from monsters, but you're going to gain a little toughness from picking up gold, which you're going to constantly be doing as well. Next over is going to be the legs. You want your 2 sockets, your intelligence, vitality, armor, and right there, if you have a perfect roll, you might as well go ahead and get yourself some either resistance or gold from monsters as your secondary. As you see here, I got some experience. That could work as well, depending on what you're going for. Feet. If you're going for Death Breaths, you could swap your feet for the meteor damage, or if you want to use the orb and not use the Firebirds at all, you can do that build. I don't like it as much. I think this gives the most damage, but if you're not using Firebirds, you can go with your meteor boots here, and then roll with the sages, so you get extra Death Breaths and then a cinder coat on your chest. But if not, just go with Firebirds or Tal Rasha's again, whichever you have better, and where you can make up Firebirds on other sets, on other pieces. But the boots is going to be the pretty much as every other spec. You want your intelligence, vitality, and then meteor damage, and that's about it. You could probably go for movement speed or resistance, whatever you want. Amulet, like every other amulet, you want crit chance, crit damage, socket, but if you get really lucky on a roll, you could swap out that intelligence for fire damage. Remember, you want fire damage because even though you're cycling through the elements, you want that fire damage for the explosive blast. Getting over to the ring, now here's where you'll see I don't have the best gear. I have some pretty shitty rings. My focus and restraint does not have the trifecta, so I'm rolling with just crit damage on one and crit chance on the other. But you want focus and restraint. The stat priority is going to be socket, crit chance, crit damage. If you can, get cooldown reduction on there instead of intelligence. I do not have an Ancient Wand of Woe, but even if you do, you want your socket with the gift, right? The consumable. You want weapon damage, not percent weapon damage. You want to make sure your weapon damage is going to give you, again, you know what I'm going to do? Again, I'm going to put the weapon reroll calculator in the description so you can see what you'll benefit more, either rerolling your weapon damage or getting percent weapon damage on there. But you don't want to go with attack speed. After your weapon damage or percent weapon damage, go with intelligence and then cooldown reduction. Me, I don't have an ancient, so I just went straight cooldown reduction on it. I'm really not worried too much about this because I'm trying to get an ancient one and I'm already one-shotting mobs. But I can easily swap out that cooldown reduction for weapon damage. But as you can see, don't even have perfect rolls and I'm still melting like a beast. Offhand, you want to make sure your damage is good. Intelligence, crit chance, and then cooldown reduction. Make sure you have crit chance and cooldown reduction. Don't worry about 4 arcane or 3 arcane power on crit. You don't need that here. Just go with intelligence, crit chance, cooldown reduction. For your legendary gems, you want Bane of the Trapped. I think that's pretty much universal for every class, right? And Bane of the Trapped is ridiculous. Wreath of Lightning, as we spoke about. And Boon of the Hoarder is a great place to go because this is a farming build. You want to just scoop up some extra movement speed and, of course, gold. And you might be asking, why would you want gold, right? I got billions of gold. You want to be doing empowered rifts. If you're pushing mids to high 70s, as I am on my Demon Hunter, you want to do empowered rifts because every 3 to 4 greater rifts, that extra roll is equivalent to as if you did another 75. They take forever. So if you're doing a 75 and you get an extra roll out of every one, it's almost as if you're doing one of those long G rifts, an extra one every 3 to 4 greater rifts. So it's great to do empowered and pick up the gold where you can. So that's it for the items. Again, if you don't have the Tal Rashas, every piece of the Tal Rashas that I have, play around with it. You could swap out a few pieces for the Firebirds if you have it. And also you can maybe play around with the Orb of Infinite Death, see which one you like better. And if you're going to run the Death Breaths and the Sage Boots and Gloves or Sage Helm and Boots, swap out the chest for the Cinder Coat. You can also use the Corruption Shoulders for the pickup radius. But if you're going to go with Corruption Shoulders for the pickup radius and then the Sages for the Death Breaths, go with a Cinder Coat on your chest and don't even worry about the Firebirds, and then use the Orb of Infinite Death on your offhand and you're going to beast regardless. Going over to the cube, you can... On the cube, you can go with the Walker, which will give you infinite teleport, and it's kind of nice to be able to move around like that. However, I feel like the In-Guillaume is pretty much irreplaceable. After you kill one elite pack, it's going to take you no time to get to the next elite pack, so your explosive blast is going to be up pretty much instant. And also your other cooldowns, and you're just going to be spamming the hell out of them. So I say go with this. It really makes a huge difference. Once you get this for your cube, you're really going to see, oh, this is what they mean by just walking by mobs and one-shotting them. Like, after an elite pack, you're going to be running. I mean, I have friends who come in the party, they're like, what the hell? Because I clear a rift in under 2 minutes. It's ridiculous. With 2 or 3 people in the group. You want to go with Nemesis Braces here just to get extra elites off of the shrines. Don't forget, elites are proccing this In-Guillaume, so this is almost like using a damage-centric cube item here, because every elite that you kill just gives you that generous 15 seconds of reducing your cooldowns by 10 seconds from the In-Guillaume. And then you want, of course, your Ring of Royal Grandeur to go ahead and make sure you pick up your 4 and 6 set. So that's it for the items. As you can see, I don't have perfect rolls, and you still see me melting. Before I let you go, really quick, a good way to make sure that you continuously execute your explosive blast, I have it on number 1. I just hold down 1. But if this helped you out, definitely let me know in the comment section below. If you're messing with a different structure of this build, or maybe another build you want to share with me and have me check out, I'm down for it, man. Or if you even want to just do a rift together, just let me know. My name's up there on the top, and I'll put it in the description. I'll put my battle tag in the description so you can add me to friends and we'll get at it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up. If not, hit that thumbs down and tell me what you think I could have done better. Hit that red subscribe button for great tech videos and gameplay all week long. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!
Another Joe Josh exclusive.